Right. So let's start with the day 3 of the training. Fine. I'll create a new Java project. Call it day 3. We will be actually on day 3 we will look at object identification and what are the various mechanisms used for object identification. Right. Let me add the Selenium jar files. Okay. This is the first jar and this is the second jar, all the jars. So the project is Selenium enabled. Right. So okay. So what I am going to do is I am going to create, or let's open Firefox. Fine. And let's say if I go to any website, right, say if I go to google.com. Okay, so technically everything in automation is known as an object or a web element in Selenium. Okay, so in Selenium technically everything which is present on the page, whether it's a button, whether it's a link, right, whether it's a radio button, checkbox, anything, right, it's known as a object or a web element. Right. So how do you do the identification of objects or web element? Right. So well, it's very simple. Right. How do you do the how do you identify them? There are various locator strategies which are used. Okay, so or mechanisms, it's known as locator strategies or mechanisms, right? So hold on, let me talk about it in detail. Look, if you go to the page source, then Selenium works on the page source. Okay, right, so you should have the knack to understand the page source. Alright, now firstly I'll talk about Firefox browser. Okay, inside Firefox browser, just install a tool known as Firebug. Firebug for Firefox. Okay, it will help you to investigate the page source. Go to the first link and you can install it from here, add to Firefox. Right, and this will get added as a plugin inside Firefox. Make sure you do this, you open this link inside Firefox. So you will be seeing an icon like this. This is the Firebug icon after installation. Right. Okay, if you open it, click on it, you'll get a window like this. Alright, and there will be an arrow over here on the left hand side, this arrow. Okay, you click on this arrow and move your mouse anywhere on the page. You will get the source code corresponding to that element. For example, I move my mouse over this register link. Okay, so I get the source code for the register link. Alright, fine. So alright, with this source code of the register link, I can do a lot of things. I can click on it, I can get the text, I can do a lot of things, right? Now to understand the source code, okay, how it works. Look, every element in HTML language, okay, this is HTML, right? Every element in HTML language has a certain tag name. Right. So if you talk about a tag name, like for example anchor is a tag name, li is a tag name, ul is a tag name, whatever starts with the conical bracket, okay, it is technically a tag, right? Okay, and a tag can have lot of attributes or none and no attributes. For example, this is a div tag with an attribute ID. Here is again a div tag with an attribute ID and class. right? There is this UL tag, fine, which has got no ID, nothing, no attribute. Okay, right? There is this nav tag with these two attributes. So with the help of the tag names and the attributes associated with the tag names, we go forward and identify the objects. That's what we do, right? So HTML is nothing but set of tags and attributes. Every element, for example, if I look at this search field, this search field is an input tag with many attributes. Okay, right? So just a minute, guys. There are, right, so this is the input tag and there are various attributes associated with this input tag, right? Okay, now the thing is, if I go to the documentation of Selenium, okay, if I, first of all, guys, there is no need to go to Selenium HQ website to open the documentation of Selenium. You can import the documentation inside Eclipse. Fine, you can import the documentation of Selenium inside Eclipse. So what you will do is that you will go here on this URL. This is the URL, right? This is the page for the documentation. When you open it, the default landing page. Fine, copy the URL of the default landing page. Okay, go to Eclipse, right? Go to the page source, for so no, not the page source, sorry. Go to the properties of your project. Okay, day 3 properties, and go to the location of the jar files. Alright, and scroll down. You will see the main jar file, Selenium Java jar file. Okay, expand it. You will have the Java doc location. Alright, edit this location, paste the URL. Fine, and remove index.html from the end. Do remove index.html from the end. Click on validate. Okay, so location is likely valid, so it's okay. So click on OK again and OK again. So Java docs are now included in Eclipse. Okay, if I make a new Java file, fine, if I right click on the source folder, create a new class, right, call it as, say, again, say gmail.java. Let's do one thing. Let's try to go and type the username inside the Gmail field. A very simple example, right? So if I write over here Webdriver equals to new Firefox driver. Okay, the interface reference equals to the class implementing the interface. Okay, now if I move my mouse over Firefox driver, I have moved my mouse over Firefox driver, I'll see the class coming up. Right, if I move my mouse over Webdriver interface, you will see the documentation for Webdriver coming up. So you don't need to go to Selenium website. If I write driver dot, I get lot of functions. If I click on any function, right, I get the description of those functions. Okay, right, for example, driver dot get. Okay, this function loads a new web page in the current browser window. Okay, so this is very helpful if you include the Java docs for Selenium inside Eclipse, right? And if I click on any link, say if I click on any link in this documentation, in this pop-up, right, if I click on any link, the documentation opens up inside Eclipse. Okay, and you can go to the frames view over here. When you go to the frames view, you get everything in kind of frames. Right, hold on, Yeah, these are the all classes and all everything. Okay, now in Selenium, okay, there are two things. As I told you, everything is an object or a web element on a web page, and there are various locator strategies to identify these objects. Basically, for locator strategies, you have to go to the page source to identify objects. Okay, now if I talk about web element, then there is an interface known as web element on the web page, which represents a general HTML element. Okay, there is an interface known as a web element which denotes a general HTML element. Okay, a generic element on the web page. Okay, right. So what happens is sorry right, so if you look at the functions in this interface, you will find functions like clear. Okay, if you want to clear the value of a text field, click on any button, link, right, anywhere if you want to click. Or for example, a function like get the location, get the size of the element, get the text. If it's a normal text, a web element is normal text, you can get the text. Is displayed, is enabled, is selected, right? So there are lots of functions which can be fired on a web page. Okay, and this interface web element denotes a generic element on the web page. Alright, fine. Now if I go to the Webdriver interface, right, then there is in the Webdriver interface there is a function known as find element. Okay, find element, right. What this function does is it goes and find any element on the web page. Okay, right. And how does it find it? You can use the by class to find it. Right, now hold on, I'll tell you, just a minute. In your Eclipse, you can write driver dot find element. Now there has to be some criteria. Okay, there has to be some locator strategy, okay, by which you can find the element. Okay, look, to find the element, there is a class known as by. This by class holds the mechanisms used to locate the elements within the document. Document means the HTML page. Okay, so there are various mechanisms like ID, link text, name, partial link text, Xpath, tag name, right. So over here you can write by dot. By which criteria? By the link text, by the name, by the partial link text, by the ID, right. So you can select, say in case of Gmail, right, if I go to the Gmail home page and if I want to type in my user ID over here, okay, right, I want to type in my user ID in the email ID field, right, fine. Then the ID of this field is email and the name of this field is email. Look, if an element has got these attributes, ID or name, it is very easy to identify the element. Okay, if you have got ID or if you have got name, it becomes really easy to identify the element. Okay, so over here if you write driver.find element by, you have the option by the ID or by the name. right? If I write by the ID email, it will go and find the email, the input field on the page. Okay, and just a minute. If you look at the find element function, it will return you a web element. Find element function will return you a web element. Okay, it will return you the reference of web element interface, which denotes a generic HTML component on the page, a generic element on the page. So you have to write like this, that is web element, say user ID or email field is equal to driver.find element by the ID email. Web element is an interface which denotes a generic element on the page. So if you write email field dot send keys, send keys is the function which is used to type in inside the input box. Okay, right? So send keys, you can write say anything. So this will go and type XYZ in the input field. So when you run this code, you will actually be able to open the browser, go to the website and type in something. Okay, right? Similarly, like if I want to identify this text field not on the basis of ID but on the basis of name, you can also do that. Name is also email, so you can write over here by the name. So with the help of name you can identify it, or ID anything, right? If I run this as well, it will run properly. Okay, right? Now Satish, I have not got your invitation. I've got 2 invitations. I'll be accepting it after the class. I don't understand. Okay, fine. So now moving ahead, over here the next thing is, what if the element has got no ID or name? For example, I always give this example, this text on the top, one account, all of Google. I want to extract this text from the web page and print it. Okay, if I look at it, then this text has got no ID or nothing. It's simply inside an h1 tag which opens here and which closes over here. Have a look at 5 minutes look at any HTML tutorial on the web. You will understand it. It's a very easy language. Right, so one account, all of Google, it opens over here, closes over here. Right, and how do I identify this? This has got no ID, nothing. Okay, over here we come up with the concept of Xpath. Okay, now what is an Xpath? Xpath is something which is kind of unique. For example, you have a name. That name identifies you. Okay, I hope you are able to understand. You have a name that that name uniquely identifies you, and you actually it's not necessary that nobody else can have that name. So Xpath is something which which uniquely identifies an object on the page, but there can be an XPath which can denote two objects. It is possible. I'll talk about that. Right. Now XPaths are of two types: absolute XPath, or it's also known as complete XPath, or there is something known as partial XPath. Okay. Right. It is very easy to understand. Just listen to me carefully. Right. Over here, the first thing is that you go to Google, or the first thing is, let's talk about complete XPath. Just a minute. How do you calculate the complete XPath or the absolute XPath? Look, this is the text, right? One account all of Google. Let's look at the page source carefully. This is the text, one account all of Google. Right. This is inside this h1 tag. Ultimately, everything in the page is starting from this HTML tag on the top. Inside the HTML tag, everything is residing. Okay. Right. So, what I'll do is that everything starts from the HTML tag. Okay. So, I'm going to make an absolute XPath. I'm going to traverse down from the HTML tag to this h1 tag. Okay, and I'm going to write it down, say in this text field. The first tag is the HTML tag. Fine. Inside the HTML tag, you have got two tags, head and body. You want to go inside the body tag because your h1 tag is somewhere inside the body tag. So you'll write HTML/body. Okay, right. Then inside the body tag, you have got many tags. You want to go inside this division tag because again h1 is inside this division tag over here. So you will write over here /div. Okay, inside this division tag, there are three division tags parallel to each other. Okay, these are the three division tags which are parallel to each other. Okay, you want to go inside the second division tag. Okay, h1 tag is inside the second division tag. So you will write over here /div2. Okay, sorry. Right, inside the second division tag, there are two divisions parallel to each other. Okay, you want to go inside the first one. Right, so you will write over here /div1 like this, and inside the first one there is a h1 tag which holds the value. So this becomes my complete XPath for the heading. Okay, I can use it in the code. I can write over here web element top text, say equals to driver dot find element by the locator strategy. ID is done, name is done. Now you can use XPath. Okay, and you can put the complete XPath over here. Now I made a mistake. The slash has to be there in the opposite direction. Okay, right, this has to be the other one. Right, now if the web developer changes the website, then this will change, otherwise it will not change. Okay, that's why automation is done on stable websites. Don't try to automate websites which are unstable, lot of bugs, and which are actually supposed to change by the source code. So automation is always done on stable websites. Okay, so when you print, you can write over here top text. This is the web element. What do you want to do with this web element? You want to get the text out of this web element. Okay, so when you run this, get text will give you the text for the web element. you will see that the browser will open and you see that it prints the text from the top. So this is complete XPath or absolute XPath. You don't need to calculate it manually every time the way I have done. There are tools available to calculate this XPath. Okay, just go to Google and type, make sure Firebug is installed on your Firefox. Okay, and type Firebug. I will talk about other browsers in some time. Okay, I will talk about Chrome and IE. Just be with me. Right, understand the concept first. Okay, install this plugin known as Firepath, which installs on top of Firebug. Open this link in Mozilla. Click on Add to Firefox. It will be added. Now, when you open your Firebug, okay, after you open your Firebug, you will see Firepath over here. Okay, right. And in Firepath, there will be a drop down. Okay, this is the drop down in which you will have the option generate absolute XPath, absolute or that means the complete XPath, right? Select it. Now wherever you move your mouse, say if I move my mouse over add to Firefox button, I will get the complete XPath. So you don't need to calculate it manually. Right. Okay. So this is complete XPath, but there is a drawback in this XPath. Although it is very precise, it goes from the top of the document to the right to the element. It is very accurate. At times when nothing is working, complete or absolute XPath gives you the right result. Okay. But the drawback is if something changes on the website, say a little change is done, a developer adds a new element somewhere in between after the body tag, right, then everything will go for a toss. All your XPaths, if you have used all the complete XPaths in your application, everything will go for a toss. Okay, so that is why usage of complete XPaths is discouraged. Alright. It's a last resort that we end up using a complete or absolute XPath. What we use is we use partial XPaths. Alright, a partial XPath will always start with a double slash. Okay, it will always start. And for example, if I write double slash A, this A is an anchor tag. Okay, A is an anchor tag. It represents a link on the web page. For example, if I look at this register link, it starts with the anchor tag. Okay, I hope you have a basic knowledge, right? This is something which is too common. Okay, a link is represented by an anchor tag. If I write double slash A, then this means it represents all the links on the page. If I write double slash input, this will represent all the input tags on the page. For example, if I look at the Gmail field is having the input tag. So if I write over here double slash input, over here double slash input, it will represent all the input tags on the page. But I want a specific input tag. I don't want all the input tags. I want the input tag for the email field. Okay, right. So I can write over here, give me the input tag with ID equals to email. And that's how these XPaths are made, partial XPath. That is, out of all the input tags on the page, get me the tag with the ID email. So this will give you the user ID field. Or I can also write like this, /*. Star means all the elements on the page, all the tags. Okay, if I just write /*, it represents every tag on the page. Okay, I can be more precise. I can write /* ID equals to email. This will also give you, out of all the elements on the page, give me the element with the ID email. Okay, you have to close this single quote. So this is a partial XPath. You can get it from Firepath as well. In Firepath, uncheck the option generate absolute XPath. Okay, uncheck this. Now investigate this email ID field, you will get the partial XPath. Investigate this next button, you will get the partial XPath. Or say, now if I go to the add to Firefox button, I get this kind of partial XPath. How is it made? Okay, let's see that. Okay, now what happens is, Firebug sees that, fine, this is the anchor tag A. Okay, guys, please keep yourself on mute. Right? If you have any questions, you can ask it. Right? This is the, hold on, just a minute. Right. So this is the anchor tag A. Okay. Now this anchor tag has got no ID. If you look at the attributes, one attribute is class attribute, right? One attribute is href, one attribute is data hash. There is no ID or name or nothing, right? So what it does is, it jumps one tag above, goes to this para tag. This has also got no ID. So it starts building the XPath. This anchor tag is over here. This para tag is over here. In para tag also it doesn't find any ID or name. Basically ID. So it jumps one tag above to this div tag. Okay, right. So this div tag also ends up giving nothing. It's got no ID. So this is that div tag. So it keeps on jumping above till the time it finds this division with the ID add-on. So it starts the XPath from this division, /*. That means out of all the elements, get me the element with the ID add-on, right? And then traverse down to the anchor tag A, this one. So instead of starting the XPath from the root of the document, that is HTML, it starts the XPath from this division, okay, with this ID add-on, and traverses down. If you are not able to understand anything, please feel free to ask your questions. Okay, please feel free. So in complete XPath, it derives the XPath from the base of the HTML tag, but in partial XPath, it will derive somewhere from between if the element is not having any ID. Okay, right. For example, again, if you look at this link, create account, this link has got no ID. So it jumps one step above into this span. Now this span has got the ID. So it starts building the XPath from this span and goes to the link. If I look at the text on the top, one account, all of Google, it doesn't give me a partial XPath, it gives me a complete XPath. The reason being that there is no element above h1 tag till the HTML tag which has got any ID. So it builds up the complete XPath. Okay, so you can also use partial XPath, fine. Like this email tag has that partial XPath, so you can use over here driver.findElement by the XPath and you can give this XPath. That is, out of all the elements on the page, get me the element with the ID email. Or you can write over here input. That is, out of all the input tags on the page, get me the tag with the ID email and type in XYZ in it. Okay, so when you run it, yeah, Yogi, it'll check the ID. In the coming classes, I'll tell you, you can make your own customized XPaths as well. Okay, so you see that it works like this. It works fine. Now, one thing is there. If I am writing driver.find element like the way I did earlier, or the way I did right now, driver.find element by the XPath. Okay, there is an input tag with the ID email. Right. Now, what if there are two elements on the page with the same ID? Okay. Well, if you look at the documentation, the find element function finds the first web element on the page. It finds the first web element on the page. Look, how does Selenium scans the page? Selenium scans the page from top left to the right side like this, and it goes down. So if there are two elements on the page, one element is out here and another element is out here, both have the same ID, Selenium will use the first one. It will not use this one. If you want to use the second one, there are ways available. I'll talk about those later. But find element will find the first element, whether it's by XPath, by ID, by name, whatever it is. Okay, so this is about XPaths. This is about object identification. Right, it's very easy. You just need to practice a little bit. Fine. So when you go back today, I'll give you a small exercise to do. Okay, go to your Facebook account. Right, go to your Facebook account, log in. Okay, after logging in, go to your profile, click on your profile link. Right, go to the friends section. Okay, go to friends section and type a name of any one friend you have. Right, okay, and that friend should appear in the friend list. Okay, so try to do the look, whatever exercises I am giving you, although they might look quite simple in the beginning, but please do them. Okay, because as the course proceeds, you'll realize that you have missed a lot if you don't practice. And believe me, when we do the frameworks, okay, it's not going to be that simple. Alright, so just be with me, practice whatever I am giving you. So from tomorrow onwards, I'll start giving you few exercises after the class as well, and at least try to do them. Right, okay, so
Hi everyone, welcome to the tutorial on Big. I will show you how to change the CPU and RAM in some time.